Howdy, y'all, and welcome to another edition of the Archeryshak Shop Talk Podcast. I am Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
We're back again, number 42, I think.
I think so.
Here to chat with y'all a while. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. We put out 3 videos a week. We do a podcast style thing like this. We do a live feed on Thursday night. And we do a Sunday video that consists of all sorts of different stuff. It could be a tune or a bow setup or a overview or us shooting or all kind of stuff. So check it out. Also, if you need some bowstrings, check out archeryshackstrings.com. We make them custom here. Use podcast 15 as the code at checkout to get 15% off. Now my spill's over. It's done got warm up here in South Carolina.
That it has.
90-degree days, humid, crazy, and for whatever reason, I really thought now that stuff's opening back up, it would have slowed down, but people are dropping bows off left and right. So I think we're having sort of a backwards year. Normally when the kids get out of school, it completely dies for a month or two while people take vacations and stuff. This year's been, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be normal, crazy, busy when hunting season hits, or if it's going to slow down more than normal quicker. I don't know.
I'd go ahead. Me personally, I'm hoping for a little bit slower, busy, or not gonna say slower, but a little bit.
Instead of it going, beep, it'd be nice if it just kind of
a gradual,
no
and
crazy,
then no crazy stuff, and hopefully I won't get cussed out again, like I do about once or twice a year.
You can't take your pants down in front of customers, TJ.
Well,
my Lord, son.
But I hope I hope we, if we're going to stay busy, I kind of hope towards hunting season, then I hope we kind of see a little bit of a slowdown, and that would be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen.
One of our videos coming up soon that we hadn't shot yet is going to be about the Ranch Fairy Tune Kit. We had a bow shipped in, and a guy wanted us to do it, and I said, yeah, we'll do it, and we ordered it. We're waiting on it. Should be here any day. And since I've mentioned we're doing it on the live feed, a lot of people are like interested in it. So I guess it's a bigger thing than I thought it was. So hopefully we'll probably shoot it like next week. It'll take another week or two to get it out, but that'll be coming up. That'll be neat. Another thing I wrote down to talk about, somebody mentioned in the shop and I completely forgot about. There's a broadhead company called Tooth of the Arrow. And they had sent us a couple free broadheads, and we played with them. I actually gave one to a customer, and he went and shot a hog with it and said it did great. But you can get on their website, and they got a demo pack, and it's just one broadhead. But they'll ship it. It's like $199. It's cheap just to test it. So check that out. We were talking about it, and I was like, I forgot about that. Maybe I need to tell everybody. The one I had and played with, I mean, it shot good, and I didn't shoot any animals with it, but it looked like it would do good, and old Randall took it and shot a hog with it. But, anyway, check them out, Tooth of the Arrow. It's a one-piece broadhead. Like, it's just one piece of metal that they machine down. It's not like a bunch. It's sort of like in the family of a Montec, but not really the same.
Yeah.
The Montec. Let's talk about, I've seen this online this week. People are asking what's the best way to hang a bow, or what's the best bow hanger, or at my house, how should I hang my bow, that sort of thing. I thought it'd be a good topic.
I guess if you're going to hang it in your house, if you've got a closet or something like that, I would just get me a big S-hook.
Yeah.
And you can get them with the rubber coating over them and everything, and just hang it in there, and then you can hang your bow up in it.
You can always get like the $2 or $3 screw-in hook type thing if you want to screw something in the wall. And then I've seen some nice bow racks on Facebook people make out of wood, but you're looking at a couple $100. But like, they're nice. I mean, they'll have like Matthews or PSE or whatever on them.
What is it? Racks?
Yeah,
I think it is. RAXX.
Yeah.
X racks. They make some jam up stuff.
And they put like I talked to them. They said they could make us an Archeryshack one or whatever, but they put like the bow logo, Bowtech, PSE, Matthews, whatever on it. They're colored and everything.
I haven't seen this in a while, and I know people still do it, but if you kill a good buck, you put it on your wall, you can actually have the front hooves or the back hooves. They will actually form them. And used to a lot of people, it was made for guns.
Yep.
But I've seen some people doing it with their bows now.
Yep.
But I haven't seen any mounts like that in a few years now.
I would say don't hang your bow by the string. That's not a good idea.
No.
Because you might fray it up or whatever. So, and that is not a good idea. So hang it, if you can, by, like in the shop, we have hangers all around the wall. And it's a coated hanger, but we usually put one of the limbs in there, and I try to not put it right up against the cam. I just, usually most of these bows now have some sort of limb dampener, so I'll put it in the limb and let the limb dampener hit, not the cam. But riser or limb is what I'd hang it by. I mean, maybe a cam if it's set up right, but you don't want to be binding the cam up or have to finagle it to try to get it off.
And I mean, most everybody has a bow case.
Yeah.
So, if you got a bow case, you just put it in there, slide it under the bed or in the closet. But if you don't, like I said, I would probably everybody's got a spare closet or a space.
Don't put it in the bow case and leave it in the truck.
Yeah, don't do that.
Somebody handed me a bow outside the other day, and that thing was 9,000 degrees, and it'll, your limbs are made out of fiberglass and fiberglass resin. It'll crack a limb, and the strings had wax melting off of them. It messes everything up.
It really does.
Don't do it. And I think people have bed covers on their trucks or an SUV, and they think, oh, it's protected. But no, that how hot it gets in a car in the summer, and that's what is transferring that heat to that bow. It's not good.
Yeah, it ain't. And if you got a crossbow, don't leave it cocked.
We had that fella, he left a Barnett something another cocked in his car one day, and it got hot, and I'm talking about exploded ain't the word.
Yeah,
it looked like a gorilla had got a hold of it.
Oh, yeah.
It tore everything on that joker up.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yep.
Don't do it. Let's tell them about and talk about the glow loop.
Oh, man. I had heard of it, but I don't think we've had any we had some a couple years ago in the shop, and I guess it was from a different manufacturer.
I think so.
And, it was supposed to be the latest, greatest, straightest thing out there. And so we put it up to the light, went back in the hallway where it was kind of dark, and it would barely glow.
Yeah.
We got some of this new stuff, and I mean, we just stuck it up to the light for just like 3 seconds, and that joker was glowing just as bright as it could be.
I was looking for another. We were out of some color loop, and I was looking on Lancaster, and this Gibbs Super Glow Loop or whatever it's called popped up, and I thought, I didn't even click the description. I seen Glow Loop, and I said, I guess that means it glows in the dark. And I ordered us 3 foot or whatever it was just to play with, and I showed it to a few people, and it's neat. So I'm like on my hunting bow, I'd put it on there because if you had to clip on and it was getting dark or whatever, you could see it.
Oh, yeah.
But we put one on somebody's the other day, and I walked over. I turned the light off in the office and went in there, and I mean, that thing was bright.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, that'd like when we come in one day when the lights have been off, we'll sneak over here and see if it's still glowing. Like, I wonder how long it glows for.
Yeah.
That'd be a big question.
Well, it's probably just like anything glow in the dark. The longer it stays in the light, the longer it'll stay charged.
Yeah. Which I guess really all you'd need would be just a little bit after dark. And I guess if you hunted morning, you could maybe hit it with a flashlight and really charge it.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for a while. But anyway, Gibbs Glow Loop. If you've used it, let us know. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I want to test it and make sure the durability and all that stuff is still good before we really start pushing it. But so far, so good on a couple bows. Glow Loop. I remember back in the day, really right when fiber optic was getting popular, but like I remember having to paint pins with like my brass pins with like glow in the dark paint and all that stuff. That was a mess.
Yeah, I remember them days.
I remember like fiber optic. You still get some people come in there like, I want a fiber optic sight, and we're like, hell, that's about all they make now. But you ain't gonna find one that ain't a fiber optic. But
yeah, it's
take a fiber optic.
Let's see what else happened. Oh, I got the greatest phone call in the shop this week. Guy calls, he says, I got a compound bow and I need a string for it. I'm like, okay. And he was asking, how much it is and everything. Well, I asked him, I said, well, which bow do you have? Because, price depends on if you got a 3-piece, 4-piece, 5-piece, 7-piece, or solo cam. I got a compound bow. I'm like, okay.
That reminds me, I ain't had this happen in a while. People used to come in and be like, I need to change my PSI. I'd be like, say what? They want to change their poundage. So finally I understood what they were talking about, and I just quit saying anything. But
Yeah.
I want to change my PSI. And then some people would shoot a PSE and say, I'm shooting a PSI. I'd be like,
Yeah.
my Lord, people, get this stuff halfway straight.
So, and I still don't know what kind of bow this guy's got besides a compound bow. I don't know if it's a old style with a teardrop with the steel cables, or if it's a solo cam or anything like that. I think he had a solo cam of some sort, but
there's no telling.
There's really not.
He'll probably show up with a recurve.
But so far, that's been the story of the week, I guess you can say.
Compound bow.
Yep.
I hadn't seen in the past little bit as much interest in these crossbows. Like, I know it's coming for hunting season, but I felt like everybody was crossbow, and then we've had a little break from crossbows.
It goes in spurts. Like we said before, this has been a weird year for us in the shop anyway.
I'm sure it has everywhere.
And everywhere, yeah. It's been just a weird year, but, around Christmas time, I think we sold a couple of them, or I figure, and that's to be expected, Christmas present and stuff like that. And, in tax time, you see a little bit of an influx in bow purchases and stuff like that. So I figured they would have sold a couple more around then, but like you say, it's going to get right here at hunting season, and everybody's going to want to jump on the crossbow.
I thought I was getting a leg cramp.
Uh-oh.
I was about to stand up real quick. I think I might. That joker tensed up a little bit. Whoa. We got to tell, in case she's watching, it's TJ's wife's birthday today, so happy birthday, Vanessa.
Yep.
I'm trying to get done with the podcast so we can send TJ home. I had something else I was going to talk about. No idea what it was. I know I was going to talk about serving tools. Somebody had messaged me and said, what's a decent tool to use at, my home bow shop or whatever. And there's so many of them. You got like a bunch of El Cheapos, and honestly, if you're just doing the random serving here and there, about anything will work. You know what I mean? And then you got like the higher end is the they call them a biter jig, and they're about $50 retail, and they're great. But if you're just putting on a center serving here and there, you don't need that. And then they make a bear paw that's $20 to $30, and it's pretty decent. But you can really just get the old El Cheapos and be fine, unless you're doing a lot of serving. You know what I mean? There's none that I'd really say to run from. Even the AAE one is nice. It's an all metal jig, and I think they're under $20, $15-$20, something like that.
I mean, what was it? Those X spots. I think we run some of them in the shop, and they wasn't but what?
They was like cheap.
$15. So.
It's like a wannabe AAE, pretty much same design. It's just a little cheaper. But we played with them, but that, and then we've talked about it before. But like, if you're just got a little shop at the house, you can order some BCY 3D serving, and that's good for peeps. If you tie the little knocks around loops, that's good for that. I wouldn't use it for center serving. For center serving, and it's each bow string and bow is going to be different according to where you get it from. But like a 21 thousandths is usually safe to go with. So you could get, my favorite is the Angel Majesty because it don't slip hardly ever. But another popular one is the BCY 62XS, and you can get it in some colors, and also the BCY Power Grip. But about anything in a 21 thousandths, it's going to be middle of the road. Now, if you were to have a little bit fatter string, you might need an 18 thousandths, or a skinny string, you might need up to a 25 or 6. But if you just want to order a spool of something, a 21 thousandths would be safe to go with on the serving.
But isn't BCY and the Power Grip, is it 18,000? Or is it 21?
The Power Grip in BCY runs a little big. It's because it stays so round.
Yeah.
The way they've got it. So like an 18 thousandths in the Power Grip really measures more along the lines of a 21 thousandths.
Yeah.
So I guess if you wanted an all-round serving to do stuff with, I'd probably go either that 62 XS, because I mean you could still tie peeps and stuff in with it, as long as you can get real big.
Yeah.
Or you could even get a power grip. But anyway, that's the serving spiel. And then there's still people tying in peeps and stuff with dental floss and all that. I mean, it works. It's hard to cut off. I know when people bring them in and want to move it, I'm like, Lord, I'm gonna cut this string in half.
I know. A buddy of mine, his was the same way. I bet you he used the whole thing of dental floss tying that peep in, and I was in there like, man, don't ever do this again. He's, well, I didn't want my peep going nowhere. I'm like, it wasn't going nowhere with all that on there.
I have seen, I think, about 3 posts online this week, and it was local folks asking for a good bow shop or this, that, and the other, and I've seen a lot of people recommending us. So if you recommended us and you're watching this, we appreciate it.
Yep.
It was multiple issues. I know one guy was mad at another shop and was looking for somewhere, and but any which way, thanks for the recommendations.
Yep.
That's always a cool thing. We had a guy, here's a quick story I'll tell, and I was thinking about it when the guy came in. A guy came in a while ago and had bought a bow that we carry from a box store. He went up to Cabela's and bought this bow as a package, and then they didn't
set it up.
They didn't do anything for him, I guess is what I'm saying. So he brought it here, and in my head I thought, he was like, I mean, I really appreciate y'all working, because he ended up, we paper tuned it and put him a different peep in and did all kind of stuff. But he's like, I appreciate y'all working with me and all this stuff. But I was thinking, I know a lot of shops that I have been at and worked in too, to where they'd have been like, hell no, if you bought that up there, you take it back up there and blah, 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 blah. And I'm glad we're not that way.
No. I mean,
occasionally Jackie gets old and ornery, but other than that, we don't try not to play that game. That's
like, had 2 guys come in this morning.
Oh yeah, this is funny too. I forgot about this one.
They buy stuff from us here in the shop. We've worked on their bows and everything before.
They wanted a brand we don't carry.
They were going to go with the Prime, and he said, we're waiting on the brand that we don't have to come in so they could go test fire, just shoot them. Well, they ended up buying from a competition up the road from us, in which they come in this morning. They said, well, we just went and picked them up. We let him set it up, but we're going to bring it to y'all.
Yeah.
Because y'all know what you're doing. So.
And nothing against that guy.
No.
But I've seen over the years, I guess, like the difference in, we're going to set this thing level and hand it to you, versus like, y'all have seen it in some of the videos we do, like we're going to check the cam lean and the cam timing and paper tune it and get the draw length right and the peep height right and walk outside sometimes and walk back tune it and blah, 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 blah. There's not many shops that will take the time to do all that. And now, granted, we had a guy call a while ago. I don't want somebody to come in and get mad and whatever, but when we're busier, it's a lot better if you're local to call us ahead of time and sort of set up a roundabout time you're coming, because we don't want you to show up and we have 10 people here and not be able to do whatever you're wanting to do. But if we know you're coming ahead of time, we'll kind of know, all right, this guy's coming, let's set aside an hour or two, that sort of thing. But anyway.
But yeah, I mean, and them 2 guys, I mean, they're great guys and everything, and yeah, in a way it does suck but that's what they wanted. So, and like we've said before, you ain't got to buy a bow that we carry. We'll still work on it. We'll still help you do whatever we got to do to it. And
I don't know how many shops, and I know the people that own them well. Like, we talk all the time. But, they'll say, hey, if somebody brings XYZ bow in here, I ain't touching that piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. You can't be that. I don't think you can be that way.
No, you can't.
You might could have got away with that before the internet and the way things are now, but
yeah. Nowadays you can't even. If you even just look at somebody wrong, they can get on Facebook, Twitter, and everything, and just blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, but I don't know. Things ain't like they used to be.
No.
But at the same time, like, there's I'm just trying to think off. There's no bow that we hate working on. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's nothing we're gonna be like growling at you.
No.
I'm just trying to think. Maybe an Oneida. But nah. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there. I know there's some crazy shops out there that.
Oh yeah. Well, what was it last year? A guy come in and said he went to another shop and said that he told him it would be $200 just to touch his bow.
Yeah, to look at it.
To look at his bow, and then he told him it was going to be like 3 weeks before he could get to it.
That's a good way to make. Here's another. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast. This was last year, but a guy came bouncing in mad because another shop had done whatever, and a guy comes in 2 minutes, 3 minutes behind him and was like, "You were just up there at that other," and he was like, "Yep." And they were both like, "We're never going back up there."
Yeah, and this is no lie. I got here. One guy was already waiting on me. He's like, "I ain't never setting foot in that other shop, blah, 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 blah," and all this. I'm like, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "What you need?" He goes, "I just need a peep sight moved for me."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really?"
That's some ridiculous stuff.
I ended up, and then I was working on his bow, just moving the peep sight down. I walked, behind the curtain back here, and there's another guy, and he's like, "You were just up at the other shop." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, let me finish up with him." And I said, "What you got, what you need done?" He goes, "A peep sight slid up a little bit." And I ended up having to put a twist in each string to get the peep lined up. And the second guy has been back, and we restrung his Diamond Infinite Edge.
But I see all the, a lot of comments all over the internet of similar experiences of people. And I really think that's the internet, because you can learn a lot of stuff now on the internet, of course, and whatever is why a lot of people started to do their stuff at the house. I mean, because, if you got some money to blow for $1,000, you can have a decent little home bow shop, with a press and some stuff, and you can work on your stuff and your buddy's stuff pretty easy. Or like, Jim Ford and them went in, 2 or 3 of them together and bought all the stuff, so they only had a couple hundred apiece, something like that. But it's crazy how things are now.
Yeah, it is.
But I remember being a kid and going in places and them pretty much being an asshole to me, and looking back, I probably knew more at that point than they did. It was like just stupid. One guy in particular, they don't sell bows anymore, but I remember I went in there and I think I wanted a roll of serving or something. I was probably 14, 13, and I forget, he smarted something off to me, and I remember it was smarted off enough to where my daddy was like, "This kid's the South Carolina state champion, whatever." I was just gonna walk off, and I was pissed, but brush it off. But he's like, he smarted something back off to him, and that guy just kind of looked like F you or whatever. But anyway, that was my first of experiences. And then old Travis Haney went up there with that same guy, and that guy had him a bow, and Travis let that thing roll on accident.
Oh, Lord.
And Travis said that guy, he started raising hell, and Travis said he just handed it to him and left. But, he didn't do it on purpose, but I just giggled because that was like 6 months after I had my issue with him.
Oh, Lord.
But, anyway. Good old bow shops. I don't know why people have to be such assholes.
I don't know either. And what, I guess everybody's been at home, and I guess they're watching bow hunting shows and everything, because I think everybody's starting to get the deer hunting bug again.
Yeah, I think early this year.
So
early. I was, we were looking at it on that new breed a while ago. Let's talk about our preferences and the differences in a cable versus a limb. Oh, I just pulled a cord. A limb stop. All right, we good.
Yep.
I've always kind of been like, I like cable stops on a tournament bow, and I like limb stops on a hunting bow, because like most limb stop bows have a good bit of let off, and it's adjustable. You can slide that stop, and it's solid. But a lot of bows have went to limb stop only, or that new breed we had over here working on it had both. So you could make it where you had a little bit of sponge and then stop. And then like the primes, last year you had either option. You could put limb or cable, and now it's straight cable, because you got to be able to slide it enough to adjust the draw length. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, though. With the cable stop on that new prime, it doesn't feel like a cable stop, though.
It's solid. Yeah.
It is solid.
I would say
I'm going to go limb stop for me.
I'd say most of people coming here would say limb stop, because it's like when to me, Elite was the first big limb stop bow that was mass produced. You know, a lot of people had, and people pull them back that had never shot a limb stop bow and be like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
But anyway, I think most people would like the limb stops. I had a cable stop bow in here a while ago, real mushy cable stop bow, and I was like, "Woo, this is funky." And I pulled it back, and I mean, it had a lot of give, and I was like, But anyway, what y'all think? Cable or limb stop? What y'all prefer?
We got any? I know Tab is having a S3DA shoot sometime coming up.
This weekend, yeah.
Is it this weekend?
Yeah, today. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Kiwi. No.
I don't know.
The South Carolina Archery Association posted last night or yesterday. There's a 3D shoot down at Myrtle Beach at Sand Dune, July the 20-something. Was asking who was coming.
Yeah.
And I kind of, in the back of my head, I thought, well, that might be a good one to go to. We could go down there and shoot, and it'd be middle of the summer, go do some boogie boarding.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at how many people said they were or wasn't going.
Or maybe a hurricane come through like it did that time we was down there.
Yeah. What I did see Kiwi post, and I meant to ask Jackie, there's some sort of field shoot coming up with them. It's in the next week or two, and I'm not sure if it's a 3D and field. I'll have to look at the website.
Yeah.
If you're local, I seen somebody ask this on Facebook too. They lived up in Easley and said, you know, is there any good just moved here, is there any good archery clubs? And we always recommend two if you're in our area. One, Kiwi Bowman is the way to go, kiwibowman.com. They got an indoor range. They got like 15 3D targets they leave out. There's always field targets out, a whole field, actually 2 field ranges. And then they got practice targets out from like 20 to 50. Is it 50 or 60? 50, I think.
I think 50.
So you join it. As of right now, it's cheap. I mean, to me, it's cheap. It's like $100 a year. You get a key to the gate, key to the building. You know, it's air conditioned or heated according to what time of the year you need it to be. So you can go up there at midnight and shoot if you want to.
Yep.
And you can go out there and shoot the 3D targets. You can shoot whatever you want to shoot. There's no broadhead targets, which is most insurance companies won't allow that. Even with us, the insurance companies say, do not let people shoot broadheads because it's a big liability or whatever. But anyways, and so Kiwi Bowman, and that's up in Central, right above Clemson. And then Tab, the Archery and Bow Club, if you look them up on Facebook, that's what Tab stands for. But Tab has several shoots a year.
Mm-hmm.
They keep practice targets out, I think, from 20 to 50. I'm not 100%, but I think they keep about 10 3D targets out.
I think they do.
And I think it's around $60 or $70 a year. Tab's a little bit further for us, but still we try to go to all their stuff. And they're convenient because they're right off 385. I think it's exit 16. So you could come from down toward Newberry Way or Greenville or whatever, if you could just jump on 85 or 35 and buzz over there. But that's the two we always tell people about.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. And Kiwi, in probably a 2 to 3 hour radius, Kiwi's the only indoor club there is around here without really driving up into North Carolina or Tennessee.
What about Jeffries down in Columbia?
Jeffries, they do have an indoor range, but you don't have anything outdoor.
You don't have outdoor.
Yeah. But yeah, check them out if you're down in Columbia. They had a state 2 or 3 years ago. The state Vegas round was at Jeffries, and it's a nice shop, and they got a nice. I think it was, I'm gonna say 15 lane range, something like that, 20 yard. But it's easy to get to, right there off 77.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and we've talked about putting an indoor range in here, and it's still not out of the question. But back at the at Bucks and Bass, the space it took up for that range versus what, we could have put stuff to sell in there. It really never paid for itself, but it's still something to be nice to have. You know what I mean? I'm not ruling it out. At first, when we've been here, 6 years, whatever it's been?
Going on 6.
I was like, we got to have an indoor range. But now I'm like, if we get an indoor range, my dang leg's going to sleep. I want it to be 40 yards. So right now I'm kind of like, it's not a huge top priority, but if we do it, we at least go in 40 yards. And I know, it'll cost a few bucks to build, but then we also got to heat and cool it at least to a certain degree, and that's going to really cost some money. So I'm not, it's something we may do in the next 5 years, but not like this year. But I've got this little vision of a 40-yard range to where we could do actual indoor 3D shoots if we wanted to, if it's super hot or super cold, and put big target butts on rollers to where you could, you could roll it up to 20, 30, 40. I actually seen a range. I don't remember where it's at. It's on my Facebook. I'll have to find it. They set up their range like a gun range. You hit a button, and that dang target comes all the way up to you. Boop, you pull your arrows, hit it again. You can all the way out to 40.
Darn.
That would be neat. But I'm sure they paid a pretty penny to get
Oh,
it.
yeah, they probably did, too.
The other problem is, let's go back to Bucks and Bass. So we had a 20-yard indoor range. We had a digital range. And you could back all the way up to 40 there. We didn't regularly let people do it because it went through our side room, but you could. But anyway, and we charged $7 an hour. And you'd still get all these people that would bitch and not pay or not want to pay that $7 an hour. And it's like, listen, this is a big old building. They're paying to heat and cool this thing, plus all these targets get shot up and have to be replaced every year or two.
Yeah.
And people, you wouldn't believe how many people would come in and not pay or whatever. And so I don't know. Like I say, it's not a huge top priority, but it would be neat to have. I've always wanted to start, I guess you'd have to start it as a club, but like get a building in a shopping center, try to get 40 yards, but at least get 30, I guess. And so you sell a membership, they get a key to the front door, 24 hours, whatever, you can go anytime. But then for an additional fee, have another room with a lock to it or a code or whatever, and you get access to like a little bow maintenance room and have a bow press and an arrow saw and anything you could possibly need to work on a bow. But of course you'd have to like have it on a little chain or something so people couldn't steal it. I know that hopefully they wouldn't, but you know how people are.
Yeah. But
I always thought that would be neat. But I looked into the Lakeside Shopping Center one time, not that many years ago, and I got to add numbers between what the rent was going to be and the power and this, that, and the other. And you'd have to have a couple hundred members to even break even. And I was like, I don't, it ain't really worth getting into all this. But anyway, I've always thought about it. But I mean, for average Joe, how cool would it be to pay whatever, 20, 30 bucks a month to get access to that? You can go in there where you can shoot, you can work on your bow, pretty much do anything archery wise, not have a shop. We wouldn't have a shop set up there, but you could go work on your stuff. And
I tell you what I've always wanted. I want a pop-up range.
Yeah, I'd looked into that. Some guy on Archery Talk years ago had some sort of a electric mechanism that would pop them up. But I'd seen another guy that had a pneumatic type of setup, but he was wanting like $15,000, and it only did like 5 or 6 animals. And I was like, nope.
You could do it with garage door openers.
Yeah.
But it would just take a good bit to pull it up, and then. But yeah, most of them run off air.
I hadn't even seen a pop-up style shoot anywhere in quite a few years. I remember they used to have a deer show at our civic center. I went and won that thing. This is sort of a long story. I'll make it quick. I went and won it, and then they were supposed to ship me all this stuff, and I never got it. Well, the guy shows up. That's when Bucks and Bass was open, so I knew like everybody in Anderson that shot a bow. They came back the next year, and I went up there the first day because we had a big booth there, and I was like, listen, buddy. And I said, I won. I know the guy that won second and third. I said, and as far as I'm concerned, I said, we got the only archery shop in Anderson in this area. I said, I'll stand right here and tell everybody I got screwed. I said, you won't get nobody shooting. And because when I first said something, and I'm a kid. At that point, I was 16 or 17. And he's like, well, I'll see what I can do later, whatever. I was like, nope. I'll stand right here and tell every person. And I'm talking to 10 people while I'm talking to him or whatever. I said, I'll tell every person to not shoot this thing. I said, this is bullshit. So he said, well, come on out to the truck. Come on out to the truck. We went out to his truck. He was handing me rests, sights, stabilizers. So I said, listen, here's the guy's name that won second and third. Neither one of them got their stuff, and I'm good friends with them. I said, I want their stuff too. And he gave it all to me. And I didn't shoot that year, but I didn't stand there and tell everybody else not to shoot. But he never did show back up after that.
No.
But anyway, so I shot that one, and then me and Jason Long went to Charlotte one year, and at the Bass Pro up there, they had a pop-up shoot. I think I won a bag target or something up there. The only thing about pop-up shooting is it promotes target panic because you gotta be on it. Quick fire. It pops up, go. Pops up, go. And Jason swears that's where he keeps getting his target panic from, was when he shot all them pop-up tournaments.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun to do just...
Oh, rednecks love it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody loves it. What if we had a 60-yard pop-up
that's
tournament?
What I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Be like, this is going to be something here. And,
yeah.
And you know us, we wouldn't just give them 20 seconds. We'd be shoot. Anyway, but yeah, the pop-up stuff I hadn't seen in a while.
Me neither. And I remember when they used to put it on ESPN.
Yep, me too.
But they don't do it anymore.
Didn't Buckmasters have some sort
Buckmasters had it. Because Buckmasters come on ESPN on Saturday mornings real early. And then they moved over to the TNN, the Nashville Network, and then it went away.
I would like to give a shout-out to Vapor Trail. They we ordered they got great customer service. We needed a sort of a weird wrist, a left-handed prime mount wrist, and all this stuff. And I literally talked to them on a Wednesday or something. I mean, it was like it took it 2 days to get here. I mean, it was just like bam. And I thought this is going to be a little bit different. It's going to take a week or two, but they were on it. They definitely check out. I think me and TJ will both end up shooting them this year.
Yeah.
The Gen 7 and Gen 7X rest from them. They're sharp.
Actually, the boy that brought one of the bows in this morning, he had the Gen 7X on there.
Really?
Yep. And to be honest, it wasn't really too much of a difference. It was just the way that between the Gen 7, Gen 7X, as we talked before, the Gen 7 is only top limb driven, but the Gen 7X, you can run top or bottom. And so he had his run off the bottom, and we got it set up and everything, and that joker was shooting bullet holes. So
here's something I guess I got a question about to everybody. We have always thought about doing some sort of a beginner class, whether it be once a month, once every 2 weeks, once a year, I don't know. Do you have shops in your area, or what do you think about, or what would you recommend for a beginner class? And what I'm really aiming this towards is we get a lot of ladies that come through wanting to get into archery, a lot of kids, of course, and even some grown men. You know, I don't know. We've talked about 100 different ways of doing it. But I'd like call it explore archery or something like that. But, briefly go over the safety and the parts of a bow and all that. We could do that in the shop. We got a big TV on the wall. Could have a little thing or something, or we could do it however. It don't matter. And then ultimately, I guess we would use maybe Genesis bows or maybe like a cheaper PSE or Bear bow. Take them out there, get the draw length right, take them at like 10 yards, let them shoot and have fun. Maybe if they're okay, back them up to 20. And then if we were to have a few 3D targets out, let them shoot that. And I think it would hook a lot of people. But we also don't want to waste a whole lot of time if it's not something people would be a whole lot. We don't want like one person to come once a month or so. What I mean? Like, so what have y'all seen that worked, or do you know about, or what? Just give us some recommendations.
Yeah,
I'd like to do something. I just don't know what. Groupon keeps calling me. They have called and said, hey, we want to do these archery class coupons or whatever. And I told them I'm interested, but we'd have to figure that out somehow.
I mean, it's just, most of the people that are, the beginners and everything, they don't know. They just want to shoot a bow and have fun. Yep. That's what they want to do. Well,
I think for that, 10 yards, get them hitting a dot, because of course we want to get them sighted in semi.
Exactly.
But then if we had a couple 3D targets they could go shoot, they'd probably, I mean, that's like, we used to do a good many kids lessons, and for the most part, the kids hated shooting at paper, but I'd always start them on paper, make sure they were getting their form right, and go over all that, which they didn't care about. But then I'd have out like 10 3D targets, and we'd go down through the woods and shoot them 3D targets, and it was on. You know what I mean? They loved it. So I think it'd be the same way with that. But I'm just curious of how other shops are there. We don't really have anybody that I know within a 2 or 3 or 4 hour radius. Well, I don't know about 4, but 2 or 3 hour radius of us that is doing that. And everybody I talk to is in the same boat as us. They've said, well, we don't have enough time. And it's, between us making strings and all these bows that get dropped off and selling bows and all this, there really ain't enough time. But, we'll make it happen. I just got to figure out how to do it.
And I know everybody's pushing for the S3DA, I think.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with the S3DA. I guess you can say we're kind of don't want to actually follow all the rules.
But we're like, if we get in with an association or whatever you want to call it, like, hang on a second, I'm making some racket. I got to move this cord. Made a lot of racket. If we get in with, say, like National Archery and School Program, it's sort of, you got to do this. You got to use the Genesis bow. You got to shoot this way at paper and blah, 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 blah. S3DA is a lot better, but still got its certain things, and we're looking at becoming, a club for the S3DA.
Yeah.
And we've looked into other things too, but I don't know. I'd love to get a youth archery team going. I'd love to do these beginner classes and all this stuff. I just got to figure out a good format. I guess the big thing is I just need to do it, and we'll figure out what works. But,
yeah. I think the biggest thing that I see is like when the whistle blows 3 times, the line's hot, or whatever it is. I mean, you're not going. I mean, most of the time we're not going to have 100 people out here.
Right.
It's going to be 8 to 10 maybe.
Well, and not to throw anybody under the bus on this either, but like when I went and got my level 2 USA Archery certification mess, when I did that, it really had nothing to do with anything. I mean, it was like you say, it was like, how many whistles should there be before the archery approaches the line? And just, I hate to call it stupid stuff, but I was thinking, you've got to be kidding me that I've wasted my time to do this. And we know people that are level 3 and 4 certified in USA Archery and couldn't tell you how to set a sight on a bow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you smoking here? But
yeah, and that's where I'm getting at in my roundabout way. I wasn't gonna throw nobody under the bus, but it's just, which I don't know. It's just hard to say without really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if we get involved with one of these organizations, yeah, we could go, and I guess the good thing would be they could compete against other kids if we traveled, which that's a whole nother mess that time is a problem. But if we just did our own little local thing, maybe we could have our own little shoots against the people here. I don't know, or to carry them up to the clubs around us or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just curious of what y'all have in your area if you're not local, and if you see know of something that's really working, I'd really love to know about it. If you want to send a detailed something, email me, archeryshack@gmail.com. Let me know what's working. We've talked to one guy in North Carolina that has a big S3DA deal going on, but he don't do the shop part of it. He's just straight does like the lessons and the S3DA club, and it'll always for us be the shop is the main thing. You know what I mean? And we'll do all this as we can and hope to do. But anyway, I'm gonna change the subject a little bit because somebody asked me about it. On elite bows, they Cerakote the cams, and they always chip around the edges. Somebody was asking me, is there a way to fix it? No, there's not. Cerakote is a ceramic powder coat, pretty much. You can do it at a lower temperature, which is good because it don't mess with the metal or anything. But it looks good. But on a sharp bend, like around the cam track or whatever, it chips. I know a lot of people with elite, especially I guess what you'd call the older elites, the Hunter and maybe the E series, are getting a lot of chipping.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, unless you took it and had somebody sandblast the cam and then anodize it or something, there's no way you're going to get around it. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of why you hadn't seen anybody else jump on the whole Cerakote the cam thing, is because of that chipping. But I mean, it looks good. I remember when that was the talk of the town. Oh man, check out these cams. Look at this Cerakote. Now they're chipping. But anyway,
I don't know if they didn't think it through.
I just think they didn't have enough. They did it, probably shot it a lot, but not like years. And then
Well, and then plus, they're just shooting it in a controlled
Mm-hmm.
environment. They're not, and I'm sure the field testers and everything went out and done it and shot them in the, out in the field and everything too. So
Yeah. What about somebody else I was chatting with on Facebook was talking about, well, pretty much about building a paper tuner and paper for it and where to get it and that whole 9 yards. So my first paper tuner I ever built, it was actually this. I'm not crapping my pants. This chair's rattling as I'm moving around trying to make my leg not go to sleep. But anyway,
paper tuner.
My first paper tuner was out of plans were in a Buckmaster magazine, and approximately 1996 or 7. They put a whole article on how to build your paper tuner and briefly on like paper tears and stuff. So we built one. So PVC's usually the way to go. You can buy them, but to me they're way overpriced, and they're all made out of PVC as well. Like I've seen some online for like almost $200, and it's like, why would you spend $200 when you can build this for 20 or 30? But I'm sure if you get on Archery Talk and type in paper tuner, there's going to be plans somewhere, or Google or whatever. Yeah. But you go get the PVC, and then the paper for it. What we've been using as of lately is just the you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and it's the paper they put around for like when you paint something.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Probably 18 inches wide.
Maybe?
Yeah, and it comes in a big spool. It's $5, $6, $7, $8. It's cheap. It works. I've seen paper tuners built at other shops where they actually took newspaper and built it the size of a piece of newspaper and just took clothespins and clipped it, and that works. I've seen people use like wax paper.
Mm-hmm.
You just want it to be semi-tight. So on mine, I put this little spring action bar that holds the tension on the top and bottom of the paper. I'm sure there's other ways of doing it, but and you could use clothespins or whatever. So that's sort of the rhyme and reason. So the one we got now is of course still PVC, and I put wheels on it so we can roll it back and forth in the hallway. And then I built a little arm with a chronograph, so it's all in one sort of a thing, simple, easy, yep. Whatever. But I'm sure if you Google or get on Archery Talk, there's plans for one, but it's not, it's nothing. You can build one. You could run to Home Depot and have one built in 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
The paper tuner.
You also got to get the PVC glue and everything.
Yeah,
so.
I'd definitely recommend gluing it. I mean, you could not, but I'd do it just to make sure it's good and stout.
Yeah.
And then like if you put wheels on it like mine, I think I got them at Harbor Freight for a couple bucks a piece. It wasn't nothing. But and then they make also, if you don't want to build all that, the 30-06 Outdoors makes a little cardboard one that you fold out and just sit on a tabletop and shoot it, and it's cheap. Like, what is it, $15, $20?
Yeah, something like that.
It comes with several papers. It's simple.
Yeah.
That was actually I remember when I seen that, I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But it never caught on, I don't think.
Mm-mm. We had ordered several, and never got rid of them. I think I gave a couple of them away. But anyway. Well, I guess we'll wrap this thing up. Thank y'all for listening. We just kind of rambled about a bunch of stuff, but I think it was pretty good. As always, we'll put all our contact information in the description, and if there's any way we can help you, get a hold of us, and we'll do what we can.
Yep.
If you're local, come check us out. If you need a bowstring, check us out. Make a lot of those. Had a lot of people lately shipping in bows to work on, so that's cool. But check out our other videos. Our live feed on Thursday night's really growing, and it's Eastern time at 6:30, and we stay on there for about 45 minutes. But we've continually got more and more and more people, so I think that'll keep getting big. And on that one, we've went to what sort of our old podcast format was. We already have several questions that people sent in, and usually that sparks more questions from people on the live feed. So they'll get on there and say, hey, that reminds me of this. So definitely check it out. And then I'm going to try to maybe do something different on some Sunday videos coming up instead of the same old tuning a bow thing. And I mean, everybody always likes them, but we hadn't had any shoots because of the corona. So I'd usually have a couple videos of us shooting in there.
Yeah.
Hopefully coming up we'll have some of those, but we may mess with a crossbow or do a broadhead test or something like that coming up. We actually had a guy bring in a big sack of broadheads and was like, hey, here's some stuff I didn't use. Y'all were talking about testing them. Here you go. So we may play with some of those and see. We need to set up like an obstacle course outside.
Yeah.
Of like, here's our typical broadhead test, and just leave it set up. That way, when we get new ones in to play with, we can just bing, bing.
Yep.
Anyway, but y'all check us out. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See y'all.